Quick question. What number defines you? Is it your age? Those lotto digits you just know will pay off someday?
Show me the money.
Maybe you think there's no number that defines you, but corporate America disagrees. Industry defines you with 3 digits, your credit score, and it influences everything from how much you'll pay to borrow money to whether you can buy a cell phone, land a job, or rent an apartment. It's not easy to make sense of your finances. I'm Shahien Nasiripour, and I want to meet people with an obsession to beat the system and never leave money on the table. It's become such a popular measure of character that there's a dating service that matches people off of it. Maybe it's not for you. It's definitely not for me. Around 200 million Americans have FICO scores, but only about 1.5% of them have that perfect 850 number. One of the folks who knows how to join the 850 club is Stan Kelman. He learned to game the system after his score fell below 600 during the Great Recession. Let's give him a ring and find out how he did it. Hey Stan, thanks so much for taking the time to chat.
Thank you for having me.
What moved you to want to achieve an 850 credit score?
I just happened to have the misfortune of graduating with my MBA into a recession and got into some debt. In the process of settling that debt, my credit score dropped. What it's like to live with a low score, and really sucks. If you have a mark on your credit report, it will not go away for 7 years, or 10 if you have a bankruptcy.
You mentioned that you had negotiated with your creditors. How did you go about doing that?
You'll get daily collection calls and they'll want you to make a payment. What you don't realize is once you make a payment, your clock gets reset. By law, after 180 days of non-payment is when they are required to write it off for accounting purposes. And right before the 180-day mark is when you can call them and make a deal. I could settle some cards for as low as 20 cents on the dollar. You're not paying back what you promised to pay back, but at the same time, they're big banks that got billions of dollars from the government and bailout funds, and I didn't. So that was my own personal bailout.
Why didn't you just stop when you got to 780? Why did you try to get that elusive 850?
Because that's my personality. I wanted my perfect score. The scores are not developed for you. They're developed for the banks to evaluate your credit worthiness. They're not a measure of your personal financial health. You can be deep in debt and have a perfect score, and that's not good for you. And it's better to have a middling score but have no debt.
So let's look at how these credit scores are weighted. People with perfect 850 scores never make late payments. The 850ers use maybe 5% of a big credit limit and have had a diverse mix of loans and card accounts over the years. They also haven't applied for any new credit recently. It's not the fairest system, but you really don't need to be perfect to get it to work for you. Wisebread.com founder Janet Alvarez raised her score 300 points, and she's got tips on how to raise your score and keep it there.
In order to get the perfect 850 or 860 credit score, it's going to take sort of impeccable performance on every aspect of your credit. But you don't really need it. You don't need a perfect score to get the best rates or the best offers. You just need a really good score. Younger people are inadvertently penalized because if you're younger, you're just not going to have a long credit history. And to get the maximum boost out of this component of your credit score, you're going to want a credit history of 30 years or longer. Even if your credit isn't great, if you do qualify for more credit, ask for higher credit limits on your existing cards or try to get new cards. Again, that improves your credit utilization ratio, so that will boost your score. It can boost it by something like 50 to 100 points within a month, depending on how much additional credit you take on. There's a different score generated for the type of loan or the type of credit you're seeking. So for the purposes of credit cards or a car loan or a home loan, you might get different scores, and that's just because they're looking at different selection criteria based on what you're borrowing for.
So get to work on your score. Give yourself some credit along the way.